What's up, guys? I figured I'd just do a video on your chargers for your Qiewa Q1 Hummer, and this would apply really to any charger of any type, for a scooter, any type of scooter, or anything in general, a charger. As long as you know what your voltage output is supposed to be from the charger, you can check to see if your charger is good, how good it is. And basically what led me to this is all chargers are not created equal. For example, we've got two Q1 Hummers, and so therefore I've got two chargers. You notice this one I've got a sticker on it so I can tell them apart, and that's because this charger's a little bit better than this charger. And what I mean is the chargers are going to put out a voltage to charge your battery. Now nominally the voltage of the Qiewa Q1 Hummer battery is 48 volts nominal, but there's actually a range. When it's fully charged, the label on the battery says 54.6 volts fully charged, I believe. Let me look really quick. Yeah, the label actually on the batteries, I got the lid off my scooter right now, is 54.6, so that's your high end. That's the high end for that battery. So when you fully charge it, ideally your battery's going to be at 54.6 volts when you pull it off that fresh charge. And then it's going to drain down as you ride the scooter. It's going to drain down to the bottom end, which ultimately the very lowest possible bottom is around 39 volts on these batteries, but you probably don't really ever go that far. Your battery indicator would be reading nothing and blinking, flashing at that point. I've taken mine down that far till it actually quit altogether, so I know it's around 39 volts. On my battery meter that I modded in place of the charging port, the USB charging port, I can set my parameters on there. So I set my high-end battery for 54 point, I think I put it at 54.4 as 100%, and 42 volts as the low end for 0%. So even if I got down to 0% on my meter, which is better than the monitor on the scooter itself, I know I still got a couple volts range there. Anyway, so basically we know our nominal voltage is 48 volts. Top end of the battery is about 54.6 volts. Therefore, this charger should be putting out 54.6 volts DC volts. So when you plug it onto that charging port, it's going to take your battery up to 54.6 volts when all is said and done. Okay, so let's take a look here. I've got two different chargers. First of all, let's take a look at this one here, which is the one without the sticker on it. Now, if you look at your charging port, there's 3 pins on it for the Q1 Hummer. This one up here, it's kind of in a triangle pattern. This one up here is labeled pin 1. Pin 2 is the bottom one, kind of the tip of the triangle. Pin 3 is the one on the left there. Pin 2 is going to be your negative 48. Pin 1 is going to be your positive 48. Pin 3 is ground, so we're not worried about pin 3. I'm going to take my voltmeter here. I'm going to connect up my negative connector to the negative 48, which is pin 2, right down here, the top of the triangle, so to speak. And then I'm going to measure pin 3 with my other probe. And I got the charger plugged in. Now if we look at the meter there, you can see 54.4 volts. So this charger, when all is said and done, will charge that battery on the Qiewa Q1 Hummer up to 54.4 volts. The battery label on the battery says 54.6 for the high end, so this is actually going to be a couple of tenths lower than what the max battery rating suggests on the label. So it's not bad. It's a good. I consider this a good charger. It'll charge up to 54.6 or 54.4 volts. Now let's take a look at my other charger, the one I call my good charger, or the better charger. Again, going to clip my negative probe on pin 2, which is negative 48 volts. Put my positive probe on pin 1. Now if you look at the meter here, I got 54.7 volts coming out of this one. So what that means is this charger is going to charge that battery up to 54.7 volts when it's all done. I'm getting 3/10 more of a volt out of this charger. When my battery is fully charged, I'm going to get 3/10 more of a volt on my full charge of the Qiewa Q1 Hummer. Now 3/10 of a volt isn't a whole lot, but to me, I want to get every ounce of battery I can out of this thing. So I like using this charger better because it'll actually take it up 3/10 of a volt more. Now again, a few tenths here and there. That's not a huge deal. Certainly nothing you're going to see on your battery meter on the Q1 Hummer. And again, I mentioned before that battery meter on the Q1 Hummer, you get 6 bars. It's not very accurate. You can be down, I think I went down as low as like 80%, almost 75%, and still showed 6 bars. So it's not accurate on the full end. It's not accurate on the low end either. I've driven that scooter, so I have 0 bars. I'm riding it. There's 0 bars on that throttle indicator. And then after that, if you keep going, the battery indicator on there with 0 bars will start flashing. It's like another step below 0 bars. And I've still been riding that thing 25 miles per hour. And like I said, I have a battery meter that I subbed in place of my USB port, so I can actually see what my voltage is. So I know even at that point where that thing's flashing with 0 bars, I've still got battery left. So that's just one point I want to make. Your battery indicator on the throttle of the Q1 Hummer, don't take it as 100% accurate. It's nowhere near 100% accurate. It's a very, very rough estimate. So, I mean, if you should be riding and you go down to 0 bars, don't worry about it. If you got 0 bars and it's flashing, don't worry about it. I mean, the thing will cut off. If you go too low, if you push it too far, it will shut down. And from my experience, the only time I did that, I was in 3rd gear. I noticed my speed dropping. Finally, I couldn't throttle anymore in 3rd gear. I dropped it down to 2nd gear. It would still go. Finally, it cut out in 2nd gear. And even at that point, I was able to drop down into 1st gear and still get home going about 10 miles per hour in 1st gear. So I don't think it's ever going to leave you stranded. You'll still get some battery out of it, even if you're pushing the battery to the absolute low minimum. Okay, having said that, this is a good way to check your charger too, because you may have a charger, I don't know, you could have a charger that's not good or not bad necessarily, but putting out, like again, let's see on the meter here, this one's 54.7 volts. You may have a charger, so maybe something's wrong with your charger and it's only putting out 50 volts. If this charger charged your Q1 battery up to 50 volts, you're still going to get 6 bars on your battery indicator. You'd have no idea that you're only at 50 volts. Now, at 50 volts, you're not going to get your top end speed. You're not going to get the distance out of it. So really, it's a good idea if you have a voltmeter, and if you don't have one, you can get one for like 23 bucks on Amazon. A decent, I would recommend a self-ranging one, so you don't have to set the ranges. Like this is a self-ranging one. I can put on here, it's going to read 54 volts. If there's 2 volts there, it's going to read 2 volts. If there's 100 volts there, it's going to read 100 volts, so I don't have to mess with the settings on the meeting. It's self-ranging. That's what self-ranging means. You put it on there, and it's going to read the voltage. You don't have to mess with the dials or anything. The only thing you have to set is like on mine here, with the squiggly line over the V. V is voltage, the squiggly line is AC. The batteries are DC, so you want the voltage, the V, with the solid line, or this one's got a solid line and a dash line, that's DC voltage. So you're measuring DC voltage. The squiggly line that looks like that, looks like a sine wave, that's always AC. So you can measure AC voltage with this, you can measure DC voltage. These controllers, these batteries are DC, so I've got it set to the V with the solid and the dash line for DC. Then you can just plug it on your negative and your positive, and it's going to read your voltage. This one's 54.7 volts again. But anyway, that's the point I wanted to make. Maybe you have a charger. Somebody might have a charger out there, and it's only charging to 50 volts instead of 54.4 or 54.6 or whatever the top end of it is. If it's only putting out 50 volts, you're only going to charge your battery to 50 volts. And again, your meter, the battery indicator on the Q1 Hummer throttle, it's not that accurate. So you could be down 4 or 5 volts. You could be at 50 volts and still go show you 6 bars. And again, that will definitely affect your top speed and definitely affect your range. And you may not even know anything's going on because you don't really know how charged your battery is. So that's a good thing to do. Check your meter, get a voltmeter. 23 bucks on Amazon if you don't have one. Plug it in. Pin 2 is negative, pin 1 is positive, DC volts, and see exactly what your charger's doing. That's a good way to check your charger, and who knows, maybe you'll find you got a charger that's not putting out enough voltage and you never even knew it. Get a new charger and you might get better range, better speed. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. I just happen to, I knew this with my 2 chargers. I've done this before, but I figured maybe I'll put that out there because I never really thought before of like, well, maybe there's a charger that's only, I got one putting out 54.7, one putting out 54.4. Maybe there's some out there that's only putting out 53, 52, 51, 50 volts, still charging it, but not charging it to its full capacity. So that's a good thing to do. It's simple, it's easy. If you got a meter already, just throw it on there. If you don't, you can pick up a DC voltmeter, self-ranging on Amazon. Heck, I'll link one down in the comments that I saw on there, a decent looking one for 23 bucks on Amazon. And you know where you're at. And even at that point, if you're very careful, if you don't have your deck off, you can actually measure your battery voltage right on your charging port the same way. Now on the charging port, it's the opposite of this. See, these are female, so you low risk of shorting these out. On the other end, on the scooter itself, there's pins sticking out. So when if you do measure on your charging port, you got to be really careful not to short those out. You're going to get a big spark, and it's not good for your battery to do that. So if you do measure right on your charging port, be very, very careful that you don't short those things out. Other than that, you could pull off the deck of the scooter and disconnect your battery and measure the battery voltage right on the plug that goes to your controller. Anyway, guys, just wanted to get that out there. Check your charges. Maybe your charger's not giving you full charge, and you wouldn't know about going by the battery indicator on the Qiewa Q1 Hummer. All right, guys, that's about it for this one. Thought I'd do this and get this information out there. And have a good one. Take care.